And I think it's daunting in a sense because leaving everything out on the field every single day, it almost never ends. I mean, I've only been alive 15 something years, if I'm going to live until I'm like 85, 90, that's a long ass time to be dumping everything out. But I am at a certain level terrified of wasting my life. And I've done it already so much time spent just distracting myself that I can't I can't do it anymore. Like I need to stop.
This is The Growth Moment with your coach, Amy Kay. Inspiration, ideas, and incredible insights for you to be more and do more. Get ready to grow today. Leaving it all on the field, living up to your full potential, not wasting your time and energy on meaningless distractions, less than worthwhile addictions, behaviors, choices. It is terrifying, the existential panic that can hit of what am I really doing with my life and how can I change my focus to what matters? This is the heart of my coaching today with my guest, Matthew, a super competitive, high expectations, deep thinker, 15-year-old who happens to be my one and only son. Matt promised to let me coach him as a belated Mother's Day gift, and indeed, I mostly keep my coaching hat on in this episode. It's a huge privilege and challenge to coach one of your own. Matt came onto the call wanting to walk away with an action plan, to excel in his multiple disciplines, and to time manage himself so he can balance the myriad of things he wants to do and be. We coach around the almost universal dilemma that I tackle every week with clients: how to drive productivity, how to decide when you've done enough and can take that downtime, how to overcome the endless distractions of this world in a way that's best for you and your wiring. Take a moment right now to consider where you are with this topic. How is your time management, effectiveness, and levels of distractions? Are there some adjustments or changes you want to make? What types of structure and boundaries might be right for you to maintain your focus, be on purpose? Keep this all in mind as you listen to the coaching. See what clarity starts to emerge in service of your becoming who you really want to be. We get to jump in right after I ask Matt why pursuing excellence across multiple disciplines matters so much to him.
There are many different things that I'm passionate about and that make me happy. And for me, from my perspective, to focus on anything else or to neglect anything else would be a waste of time and a waste of my life.
You and I talked about how when I had Benin on the podcast and you and I listened to that episode together and you were like, oh yeah, that's many things that aren't similar with you, but that desire to have multiple modalities and multiple successes seem to really ring true. So there's the not wasting your life, but what is it about Matt Musson that needs a certain level, I don't know if this is right, a certain level of intensity of experience?
I don't know if it's just intensity, but well enough that I am generally much more productive with structure. And so for me, filling my life up with as many things as I can and trying to excel in those things and be the best that I can in any given discipline is something that I need to keep me on track. And just philosophically, I would rather spend my life trying and failing at a bunch of different things rather than, not doing that.
And so tell me more about that structure versus non-structure. What have you learned thus far in your life, in your 15 years, about how that works for you?
There are a lot of distractions just on hand at all times, my phone, everything. There's very little barrier to entry if, I want to do something, use the term unproductive, I suppose. And so that's why structure is important to me, because it setting concrete commitments, especially that are intertwined with other people, help me stay on track. And I think I have a generally addictive tendency.
Mm-hmm.
an obsessive tendency, and so when I don't have stuff to really put myself into, it can be very bad and damaging. I'm noticing that right now. We're in the summer.
So you had mentioned something. What was it? The YouTube Shorts, or what was it?
Yeah, well, this is what's so ironic is that, I've spent my life never using any social media except for YouTube, and I don't really count YouTube as a social media. I mean, it's
No, it's
like
not. So that's a
it's more,
content.
yeah, like a content hub. And yet now, like, the YouTube application on, like, for iOS and Android now has like this, basically what the whole everything that's like usually on Instagram and TikTok is just like, short 30-second videos you just scroll through, and like that has honestly sucked up so much of my time. It's genuinely depressing.
How much time?
Too much.
So what does not feel wasted to you?
Well, it's like I've always, I want to say I'm like dyslexic or anything, but like, if I don't consistently read like dense books or anything like that, reading does become a lot more challenging.
When that muscle's not used.
Yeah, it's like it is. I think reading is a muscle to a certain extent, and when I'm not using it, it becomes much more difficult. And like reading and examining ideas and content in that really detailed sense that reading allows is something that I would much rather do than just wasting my life with like semi interesting, half baked, shitty videos on the internet. Like that's something that is just really depressing to me that I can't. I've or at least I've struggled to break out of that mold. And in the summer, especially when everything that I need to do is generally self-imposed, that kind of structure, finding stuff to do 16 hours a day at all times, it leaves so much space open for me to let these distractions in.
So one of the things I'm hearing, if I have it right, is that you are a human that revels in, and maybe intensity wasn't the right word, but certainly a depth of experience, ideas, content. Is that right? Or is there another way you'd put it of what you crave most?
Well, I mean, I like to challenge myself, and I think I'm someone who could spend a large. I mean, there's definitely a time and place for just relaxing and not doing anything super intellectually or physically intensive. But I don't feel like I can fully enjoy those times when I'm relaxing unless I've earned it through hard work and challenging myself and growing.
All right. So it's not just intensity, if I'm hearing it better now, it's that challenging yourself, whether it be physical, emotional,
Yeah,
intellectual.
and
Yeah.
like often that often ends up being very intense activities.
Right. Because it takes that much to challenge you.
I mean, I don't like that sounds
No.
egotistical or
So
like,
let's drop, we won't worry about.
but
Mhm.
sure, go with it.
All right. So here's the question is, if you're going to create a self-imposed structure, because when you're out of school, all of that just disappears. What is the right percentage of time for Matt of downtime, earned downtime versus challenging time? How would you, if you could have it the way you want it, what would that look like? As Matt describes, it's the struggle to self-impose structure so he can challenge himself, examine ideas and life deeply instead of trolling on the surface. As I already said, this isn't a 15-year-old thing. This is a most of us thing. Most of us have at least portions of our life where it's up to us. The self-management of your time, resources, and energy. Even if you have a well-structured job, school, home life, there are constant moments of choice all day long. Do you work on the task or project that matters, or do you answer some unimportant emails because it's easier? Or check your Instagram feed just for a minute? Do you take a critical step towards your dream, or let Netflix choose for you with autoplay of the next episode? How much time are you wasting? Not just technology or social media, whatever is sucking up your time, distracting you, pulling you away from your biggest purpose and potential. I'm not talking about needed downtime, rest, restoration. I'm talking about the mindless hours slipping by that leave you feeling empty. If you stop wasting your time, start investing it into what truly matters to you, what becomes possible? what would be within your reach? All right, now back to Matt as he describes the kind of structure and time management that is his ideal.
Well, I'll use the example of last week because this last week I've generally been pretty busy, right? So I would get up sometime between 6 and 7 a.m. I would eat breakfast and go to the gym, and then I'd get back like pretty close to 9:30, 10. I'd go on my class, like my summer camp class, from 10 to 1. Then I go to work to usually 4, and then at that point I'm pretty tired. I have had a balance of intellectual and physical activities, and at that point, I still have like 2 hours of other stuff I'd want to do, but I am pretty exhausted, and I only have about 2 hours until I need to eat dinner and go to kickboxing and jujitsu. And so that puts me up till 8, assuming that I do like take care of practicing piano and practicing Spanish and working on my driver's
But
ed.
when would have that
That would be
happened?
like when I get home from 4 until like 5:30 is practicing some of that and working on that. And then, I still haven't read a recreational book or tried to read something. And so I'd get home at 8. Like this is an ideal day, presumably read up until 8:39, and then have like that hour before I go to bed at 10:15 to relax. And I think, I very rarely have I had a day where I'm that disciplined and I've structured my time out that well. And there's a little bit of time in the morning that's up in the air that I could perhaps do stuff, but that would be ideal for me.
How does it hit you? So step way back from that and kind of see that schedule laid out. And I'm blatantly hard taking off the mom hat who has opinions about such a day. As your coach in this moment, what do you see if you step back and objectively look at that structure? Does it seem reasonable, ambitious, not hard enough?
Well, I think I'm fully capable of it. I think I could potentially do more. But, there is a certain point where I'd like to come home after a long day of work in which I feel within myself that I've earned the right to sit down, lay back, and like watch a movie or, watch an episode of Rick and Morty or something like that. That's the feeling I want to earn because it is this like,
Because what's that feeling, the earned downtime?
right, it's like, I know it when I feel like, damn, I've put in the work today. Like, I got done with everything I wanted to do. Like I stretched today, I did yoga. Not only did I work out and get all the strength training in, but I got in yoga, I got in all the academic stuff, the instrumental stuff. And now I've earned the right within myself, not from anyone else, but
So really feel that, Matt, that whatever that voice or feeling or, and I'm not even going to call it an inner critic because this might just be your inner warrior, that is guiding you to your full potential.
yeah. Okay.
I don't know if that's too, too visual for you or too touchy feely for you, but it's that I know that you can have that big inner critic inside you. But at the same time, you're a high achieving kind of guy. So I would never want as a coach to tamp that down to say, oh, you should just relax more.
Like I mean, I've worked hard in the past to change like what you would probably call like my inner critic from someone who's more, supportive. I don't like want to anthropomorphize my own subconscious,
But is it the
but
inner Jocko? Is it the
changing the mindset. I don't know, like, the inner mindset with which I view my actions is from something that's purely negative and doesn't really contribute anything to someone that's like, hey, you may have messed up this, but there's no point in feeling bad for yourself. You got to get up tomorrow and do it better. Like that's how you progress.
So, how would you, at the risk of anthropomorphizing, how would you characterize that inner voice of the one that isn't negative to no purpose and isn't too soft?
Well, it's like it is myself, and I know like what I'm capable of and what my potential is, and not only from experiences and past days where I've really been on my shit, but just theoretically knowing like, hey, I know you have this in you, and I don't want to like get too much down on myself, but anything less than what I'm fully capable of seems like a failure to me. And like, every day that goes by, it's like, this is what you're doing with your life. This is how you're approaching each day. Like, seriously, this is what you're going to spend like in 2 hours every day looking at stuff that doesn't matter. I mean, come on, like that adds up.
What does that inner voice need to say to you to get you to shut down the YouTube shorts? Because it can't just be beating you up and saying you're a loser, look at you. You know, the tough love works to a certain extent, I think, with you, but not fully. But you almost, it sounded so powerful, that inner warrior voice of, I know you have this in you. It was just, it reminds me more of your jujitsu
Yeah.
train. I don't know what the right word is, but Jason, of, it's that positive strength, and there's toughness and discipline, but there's also just this, almost this nobility and integrity.
Right. Like, yeah. I mean, I understand that the room for failure is necessary, but only for me when I'm trying my best.
So failure is totally okay if you're kind of giving it your all,
Yeah, there's no shame in failure as long as you're giving it your all. You can't that would be stupid to blame yourself for that.
but it's lack of effort.
But I feel like I feel very rarely consistently across a given day, across 16 hours, that I'm really giving it my all and giving it my best. I mean, it is a very hard thing to have that solitude and to be able to just continuously push yourself. I know I can, but
So what's the right, not a reasonable bar, because you're usually not reasonable, but what's the right bar? Is it about 16 hours across the spectrum of a day, or is it around an hour? So as you listen to this coaching, what is running through your mind? What's clicking, resonating, really hitting you? Where are you too hard on yourself, setting unreasonable expectations? Both, and where you way too easy, making excuses for your choices. Feel the difference for yourself, the inner critic versus the inner warrior or inner champion, cheerleader, coach, whatever you want to call it. You can't just shame your way to that higher level of performance, effort, carpe dieming your day. Bottom line, what does your inner warrior need to say to you to pull and inspire you forward, to help you shut down your distractions, make a better choice, set the right bar? If ideas are popping up, grab them now and write them down. Coaching is specific, real, not just theoretical or philosophical concepts. Coaching is always in the moment, figuring out what you need to get you where you want to be. We pick back up with Matthew as he figures out more concretely what he needs to change.
it's not that I'm, going a 10 out of 10, exertion rate, 14 hours a day, and then I relax for the last 2 hours and go to sleep. No, I mean, that's not reasonable. I'm going up and down, like I can chill a little bit when I'm eating at meals, and then when I'm exercising or when I'm like really setting aside time to train and practice various things, whether it be academic or physical, that's when I'm really pushing myself to hit those higher levels of challenge. But as long as I'm trying and I'm conscious about the way I'm spending my time, I'm going to feel good. Like, I'm making use of what I'm doing and the time I'm given.
All right, let's just say that piece again. I'm making use of the time that I'm given. That almost gives me goosebumps a little bit. It has that ring of, all right, there's some really important Matt truth of when it comes down to it. You want to, I don't know if this is right, use up your time, live it fully, leave it all on the field, if you will. Is that right? Or am I?
Yeah. And I think it's daunting in a sense, because leaving everything out on the field
Sure.
every single day,
That's a lot.
it almost never ends. I mean, I've only been alive 15 something years, and if I'm going to live until I'm like 85, 90, that's a long ass time to be dumping everything out. But it does, like, at a certain level terrified of wasting my life, and I've done it already so much time spent just distracting myself that I can't, like, I can't do it anymore. Like, I need to stop.
And so terrified. Yeah. And so it hit me earlier in the conversation. You said something about, the barriers of entry are so low.
Yeah, it's like I have, like, every distraction, is at my fingertips.
So, Matt, how do you raise the barriers? Is that part of the structure, not just having this ambitious day, but literally structures around you so you can't slide lying in bed? So you can't, where are the bumpers or the barriers that support you in not allowing you to slide?
Well, I mean, it's like theoretically, cold turkey, I could just like take out
Take off YouTube?
only only you. I mean, I like the thing is I have deleted YouTube, but you can always just use like a browser on your phone to look it up.
What, block the site?
I don't even know if I can do that, and even if I did, I mean, I don't want to like go down the rabbit hole, but like I could use parental controls,
Yeah,
but then
on
then again,
yourself.
I'd know my own password for that. So
Oh man, like do you feel this moment of being 15 of where rapidly nobody else is going to rule you, is going to do it, and it's such a talk about terrifying and daunting of shit, it's up to me. It's all in your hands. Ha.
and part of the challenge is, especially in school, it's not just that, oh, I have these commitments that I have to do. It's that like I'm actively competing with a bunch of other people at the same stage of life as me. During the summer when I'm alone, the only person I'm competing with is myself. And so there's much less of an impetus, and I can't really channel my insecurities to push me to do better. I'm just like battling with my own mind at a certain point.
All right, so let's both of us take a breath because as a coach, it's not my job to solve it for you. It's to hold the space for you to wrestle with your next level, to find the next action steps, as you said, to walk away with, to grow this capacity. So, Matt, what is even your inkling of what might be even a small step for you at this moment to have it the way you want?
I think it starts with sleep. I think one of the best things I can do to set myself up for success in a given day is getting a full 8 hours of sleep and getting up early enough so that I'm not stressed for time and that I have enough time to fit things in. I mean, that's the first thing you do in preparation for your next day. You have to go to sleep.
So it starts with that building block.
What I've done in the past is just gone to bed a little later and still gotten up at the same time and said, okay, you want more sleep tonight, then you have to get stuff done earlier because you're always going to have to get these certain things in before you go to bed. And I think that has worked to a point.
Because we're playing with this initial building block of sleep. So you tell me, should we be down here on the tactical level of trying to, adjust and modify structure so that you can building block, or is this we got to meta level it?
I do think that if I removed somehow was able to delete any, or like just prevent any access to YouTube like on my phone, that would free up so much time in a day that I wouldn't have to worry about going to bed on time because I'd be sitting here and be like, oh, I have nothing to do, might as well pull up Spanish. Let's do some lessons.
All right. And so this is the kind of thing. So yes, you're a 15-year-old. I have this same conversation with C-suite executive level clients of how the heck are they going to leave their phone in the kitchen or not turn it on in the car? Or how are they going to stop scrolling through the news or Instagram? It is the same distraction versus excellent conversation that I have every week as a coach with all kinds of leaders. So this is part of the human condition. This whole paradigm is very alive and well across, business, personal, education, it's everywhere. So you are not the only one wrestling with this, but sometimes those people need external accountability. So someone to be their parent, if you will. So sometimes they have their spouse or somebody else go, yeah, take my phone, don't give it to me until they set that new discipline pattern, or, the alarm in the other room where they have to walk down the hall in order to get up. Like, everybody is kind of trying to figure this out. So with that said, this is not just about being a quote kid. What support can you get to help you shift this structure?
You talking like external support, or
Sure. Or
I mean, like, theoretically, I could install parental controls and block YouTube from my phone and see how long I can avoid looking it up on Google Chrome, the browser, block both of those maybe, although I would need some sort of search engine on my phone to do basic things. And there's always Safari, which you can't delete. But I mean, I could try that. Well, something that would take too much time and effort to dismantle in comparison to actually
right. That's the thing, is like
getting the reward.
So one roadblock might be not enough, and two, you might need three that lets your brain go, oh, for God's sake, what are you doing?
It's like, I would have to spend like 30 minutes trying to like go find you and be like, hey, can I, or like whatever.
All right. Can I give you that challenge? And whenever I issue a challenge as a coach, you can say yes, you can say no, you can give me a counteroffer. Matt, I request that you construct some formidable barriers to this time suck that's sucking out and wasting some of your life force.
Parasite. Yeah.
So that you can be everything you want to be, not because you will have the inner critic beating you up, but because that inner excellence wants to be expressed in this world. So will you, yes, no counteroffer, construct those barriers?
I mean, yeah, I'll try anything at this point.
Let's do it. Matt went on to set a specific date for raising the walls around YouTube, committing to an accountability check-in, and giving himself permission to experiment until he figures out what will work long-term. As I said, coaching is specific. We don't just talk about it, we do something. It's that getting down to the nitty-gritty, the real life situations, nuances, details that create true change. I am holding space right now for you to wrestle with the structure you choose to create to help raise the distraction barriers, move you from mindless to mindful. Are there some bold moves you want to make? Do you need to tie in some external accountability? Or maybe it's all about dialing up inspiration. What works for someone else doesn't necessarily work for you. So what is your catalyst action? Something that tips the dominoes and starts the cascade of change for you. For Matt, it's about the building block of sleep and raising the walls around YouTube. But that's just this moment. It will be something else another month or year. The process of making use of the time you are given is most definitely a lifelong endeavor. I would love to hold space for you anytime to help you make the most of you and the time and life you have been given. Feel free to contact me for your own growth moment, whether it's one-on-one private coaching or joining one of my coaching groups. Go to thegrowthmoment.com to get tips and tools. And remember to subscribe, follow on your favorite podcast app. Now get out there and grow today.